Hi everyone, I am Erica.
I'm Brianna.
And we are Blazeny.
And this is Tipsy Talk. So welcome back to our channel. We hope you have your champagne, you've popped it, you've poured it into your glass, and you're ready to get a little tipsy with getting some tips.
Tipsy while receiving tips.
On planning your wedding.
Yes, and we're going to give you tips while tipsy.
Well, she may be a little tipsy. For those of you who are new, I am expecting, so my bubbly is Sprite.
So I'm probably a little more tipsy than usual because I'm drinking for two. All right.
Anyways, if you are watching this and you are newly engaged, we're going to start from the beginning. We're sure that you may be super nervous. I don't know where to begin.
Very overwhelmed.
I'm overwhelmed. Where do I start?
There's a lot to do when planning a wedding, but perhaps you're thinking bridal party because you know who your friends are.
Or you think you know who your friends are. A lot of times, brides and grooms will decide on a total number of how many they want in their party. Maybe bride says, oh, I have 5 best friends that I can't imagine not being a part of the day. And groom says, well, I only have 4, and now he's searching for somebody, and then at the end it doesn't really work out. Or maybe bride does have 5, groom only has 4, but the one that makes the 5 for the bride is more of like, oh, I feel like I have to ask her, but I'm not sure if I want to. We're going to kind of break down on how to assess who to be in your bridal party, how to assess
whether you should ask everyone that you think you want to ask to be in your bridal party.
Or not.
Choosing your bridal party is actually very, very important. It can be one of the largest areas of stress in the bridal in the wedding planning process and the day of that you may not even realize. And it's so important to pick your bridal party properly. Very, very important.
There's been many times that we've had brides call us in tears, only a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, maybe they just asked somebody to be in their wedding, in tears, and they're just, I'm so upset because so-and-so doesn't get along with so-and-so, or they want to wear this, or whatever the case is, and we're saying, why are you doing this to yourself? Why are you upset? Why, if they're acting like this now, imagine how they're going to be on your wedding day. So when you're considering this person to be in your wedding, how are they throughout your life? How are they with others? How are they with understanding that you are the center of attention at this day and leading up to this day? So those are things definitely to consider, and not just for brides. I mean, we have grooms who get frustrated. Maybe bridal party, one person on the groom side doesn't get along with someone on the bride side. These are things to consider. Now, don't necessarily mean you have to cut them out, but maybe having a conversation with them first.
It's also good to know where they are in their life at the time. Can they afford to spend the kind of money that it takes to be in the bridal party? Because there are a lot of expenses to being in the bridal party. There's dress, there's shoes, there's accessories, there's helping with the bridal shower or the bachelor party, bachelorette party. There is hotel night stays, typically, even if you are local, hair and makeup costs. There's a lot of things to consider. So you might, even before saying, popping the big question with all the things that you see on Pinterest and asking your bridal party to be a part of it, sit down with your friends, because they're your friends. You should be able to have conversations with them and say, I really want you to be in my wedding, but is this okay for you? Will this make you happy? Will you feel obligated? It's okay to have that conversation, and maybe they just want to be there for you on your big day or help in certain ways but can't be a part of all of it. We're all friends. If they're your friends, then you all should be able to have these conversations. And if you're afraid to have a conversation with someone, that should probably be your first red flag that maybe they're not meant to be in your wedding. Because if you can't have that initial conversation, when it comes down to the hard stuff, you're going to really be afraid to have that conversation.
And the same thing when considering flower girls and ring bearers. These are littles, and they don't have their own checkbook and their own accounts, and it's not coming from them. And their time is not of their own. So therefore, you do have to consider, okay, will mom or dad be able to bring them to rehearsal? Will mom or dad be able to bring them to fittings? Will mom or dad be able to rush over and get them there on the wedding day? Is mom or dad in the wedding? Are both mom and dad in the wedding? Who will be with the flower girl or the ring bearer during the day, because littles can't hang all day. So they need to show maybe a little closer to the wedding, time for pictures, be a part of the wedding, so on. Can mom or dad or both afford to purchase a dress, a tux, and another dress or tux, or one or the other? These are things, again, to consider and to talk to mom or dad about and see, and not just assume, oh, well, it's my niece, it's my sister's little girl. They have to be in it. Unless you are willing to help, or they, if they need it.
Yeah.
So those are things to consider as well.
And talking about it ahead of time absolutely can head off a tremendous amount of the drama when it comes down to it. So make sure you're talking about that. Don't just think, oh, this is who's going to look best in pictures. We've heard that a lot. This is what we want to have even. Your pictures aren't the only thing to be considering when thinking about your bridal party. It's a very, very, very big decision, and can lead to either a great time or a tremendous amount of stress. And you want to make sure that you're having a great time in every part of the process, and ask them, how much do you want to be involved? Do you want me to call you when I go on these cake tastings or bridal gown shopping? What do you want to be involved in? What do you not want to be involved in? That way you're just getting it out there, and that way the stress goes away, because we are all about handling the stress for you so that you do not need to.
A lot of times too, you bring up these questions, or you wonder, or you'd go to have this conversation. We don't want you to shy away from asking your very best friend or your sister to be in your wedding just because maybe they can't afford it. So come up with solutions together. Sometimes people even wonder, like, do I even have to have a bridal party? Where did it come from? And we kind of wanted to share some of where it came from with you, because we found it very interesting. We were researching bridal party and where the tradition of bridal party came from.
There's some funny things here.
We wanted to give you just a little bit. It says, in a time which marriage by capture was practiced, close friends of the groom would assist him in taking the bride from her family. They'd form a small army to fight off any angry relatives so that he could escape with her. So when you're picking your groomsmen, your best man, make sure they're strong, because they might have to fight someone. But at the same time, if
there's a groom watching, that you go take your bride. That doesn't work.
No. But also, if you're considering
fighting off angry family, that might come into play.
I don't know. But if you're considering somebody who is maybe a fighter and likes to stir up drama, and there may be alcohol at your wedding, again, consider before asking them. Something else it says is the tradition of the best man is thought to have originated with the Germanic Goths of the 16th century. He was the best man for specifically the job of stealing the bride, again, glad that's not a tradition anymore, from her neighboring community or disapproving family, and he was probably the best swordsman too. So again, if he is a fighter and he likes to stir up problems, consider, the conversation beforehand. In some early traditions, the groomsmen were called bride's knights because they helped protect her and her virginity, her dowry, or because they assisted in her kidnapping. Again, there was a lot of kidnapping women in those days, and I'm not really comfortable with it. Another tradition as part of the job was to walk carefully. If a bridesmaid stumbled on the way to the altar, the superstition was that she would never marry. So make sure they can be at rehearsal.
Make sure none of your bridesmaids are clumsy.
Yeah.
That's important.
Or they're at rehearsal and they know they can get up and down the aisle, okay? So that eventually they can get married one day too.
And should they so choose?
If they're not already married. So if they are already married, they can trip all day long. He's already locked in.
Makes for funny videos.
Let's see, the next one is, in ancient Roman weddings, the matron of honor was a moral role model known for fidelity and obedience.
Did you hear that? A moral role model. We've been seeing a lot that may not be that.
She had to have been married no more than once and have to have a living husband. She joined the right hands of the bride and the bridegroom for the first time at the ceremony. So something to consider when you are picking your bridal party is, have they been through this before? And do they understand the importance of it? A lot of times they're just there to party and they're excited for you, but they don't understand the stress and the worry and why you don't want to get blackout drunk the night before or the day of. So make sure that, you know, people understand what your expectations are leading up to your wedding day. Another tradition of where it came from is being a bridesmaid was considered a good way to procure a husband. In the 16th century, if you had served as a bridesmaid 3 times without getting married yourself, it was believed that evil spirits had cursed you. To break the spell, you had to be a bridesmaid 4 more times for a total of 7 rounds on the wedding circuit. So I guess if you're gonna look at that tradition while picking your bridal party,
you might want to find out how many weddings she's already been in.
Yeah, and maybe if it's the 3rd one and she's still not married, consider asking if she would like to be a part of it. If it's over the 3rd one and she needs that 7th, just ask her to be a part of it so she can get married too. The last tradition that we found funny was the bride was often accompanied by a child. Think today's flower girl or ring bearer, meant to symbolize a fertile union. Flower petals tossed in the bride's pathway were representatives of the way to a beautiful future. So that's where that tradition came from. Again, we don't want to shy you away from asking anyone just because you're afraid now or concerned of finances or drama. Have the conversation. Don't miss out on that opportunity just because now you're worried, but also don't shy away from the conversation because you're worried if you don't have it, you will have the drama and you'll wish you hadn't have asked them.
And we kind of make a big joke about it, and some of those are really funny, and very grateful that we do not have those thoughts.
Yes, kidnapping
and being concerned if, you know, there's a lot of scary stuff back then. But in all of the joking, what the history, the tradition of having a bridal party are people who love you and who care about you and who care about your future and who believe that they are there to stand next to you not only in your wedding but throughout your marriage, and to be there as a good friend should, to call you on the carpet when you need to be, and also to ask
after
questions,
the wedding, with your
in your life, you know, hold you accountable, and to also check on you and make sure you're okay. Be there as a babysitter when the babies come. If your husband and you need a night out, or your spouse and you need a night out, they're there to be with you as your friend through life to help you. And if you have friends like that, then have the largest bridal party you can get and let them celebrate with you and enjoy. Just don't allow yourself to get caught up in the drama of a lot of, we're joking here, and a lot of crazy things have happened, and we've seen a lot of crazy things, and we've seen a lot of tears, but there's no reason to have that. No reason to have it. It's your day. Pick the people for the right reasons, but then also take the stress off of them. Give them the opportunity to tell you how comfortable they are with being in that position, and enjoy the day.
Yeah, and also don't feel, and I know this is going to sound funny, but we have experienced it. Don't feel obligated to ask your best man's girlfriend to be in the wedding just because they're together. We have experienced one bridal party of 20. And there was 10 on one side, 10 on the other, and the bride, some of the bridesmaids didn't even know the bride, so they would go in and say, I'm in so-and-so's wedding, I think this is what I'm wearing, and then they'd say, oh, you're a part of this bridal party because you're with so-and-so. So they would just ask because they felt uncomfortable making their best friend walk down the aisle with somebody they didn't know. Don't feel obligated to do that, and if they don't understand, make sure, again, you're communicating, you're having that conversation. If you do have couples that you are very close with and you want both of them, you know, both party in the wedding party, then by all means do that, but don't feel obligated
or feel like they have to walk together. If a couple is not secure enough to walk down an aisle at a wedding with someone else just for 5 minutes, then that's a whole nother conversation. But you do not have to sort all of that out. You have to choose who's right for you, who's right for your spouse, who is going to be the least stress at your wedding day, and through the wedding, the whole planning process, and pick what's best for you guys, and think about that ahead of time. That's very, very, very important.
Yeah. That's Tipsy Talk for today. If you liked what we had to say and you want to come back next week, please subscribe. Grab your bottle of champagne. Grab your
champagne glass.
If you have questions or topics that you'd like us to hit on, mention them in the comments below. We'd love to hear it.
Or if you have questions about what we said today, or perhaps you've gotten in over your head already and you want to know how to deal with it now that you're in it.
Yeah,
leave those
please let us
questions
know.
and we'll cover that on a different day.
Yeah, so thank you again. Be a part of our bridal party and subscribe. We will see you next week.